So we are going to create the two tables, department table and employee table. Okay. So in the department table, we have three columns are there, and department number I am taking the primary key. Okay. And employee table, we are taking the foreign. In employee table, department number is the foreign key. Employee table, department number is the foreign key, and employee number I am taking the primary key of the primary key. Employee number I am taking the primary key in the employee table. Okay. So I think this table structure, I hope everyone know, right? I don't need to explain much into that. So this is the parent table and this is the child table. So let's say for example,
SQL one,
huh?
SQL.
Oh, SQL, yeah. It is SQL.
So it's not.
It's not SQL class, but we are going to use these two tables for our integration development.
Okay.
Okay. So this is not SQL. So just for explanation of requirement, I'm first telling the DB database. So we are going to create these two tables in ATP database. Okay. So what client will do? Client will pass the data in the JSON format to that REST API. The REST API will pick up that JSON data and it will store the data into these two tables. I will explain the requirement in like this. Client will pass the JSON payload. You remember, guys, when we do the bank APIs, we have passed the payload, right? We have passed the payload to store the data into standard Oracle tables, right?
Yes.
So same way, client will send the payload like this. Client will send the payload like this format, and we are going to store whatever the client will pass the payload. So this data will store into these two tables. So that is the requirement. So client will pass the JSON payload. You remember or not? I will show you. I think I have covered that one. Union apps OER. In OER, cloud application. Financials. Review REST API services. Review REST API services. Click on banks. So when you create the bank, you remember or not? When you create a bank, we have used this payload, right? So when you run the postman, so when you run this URL from the postman tool, we have passed this payload, right? So as soon as you pass the payload, the data inserted to table, right? Am I correct or not? That time we discussed this one. So now
Yes,
what we are doing this time, we are passing this payload along with child data also. We are posting child parent and child data, and we are storing the data into this is the staging tables. There are the staging tables. In the real time, what they will do, third party system, they will send the data in this format. So client will say, third party system will tell that. So we will give the payload in this JSON format. So in your system, you can load the data like that. So how we are going to load the data? I'm taking a simple example for department and employee table, but you can consider any orders, order lines, supplier sites, and customer locations, any master detail data. See, if I show single entity, if I show master detail, you can do single entity also, right? So you can do single entity also, right? Single entity means single business object also you can store. But here in this example, I am doing the master detail data storing. Master detail data storing I am showing. Understand or not? The requirement is clear or not? Yes. Client will pass the JSON payload to REST API. Client will pass the JSON payload to REST API. Okay. REST API will pick up the JSON payload. REST API will pick up the JSON payload and it will store into client will pass a JSON payload to REST API. REST API will pick up the JSON payload and it will store into.
So Vamshi, without this adapter like a REST API, so directly it will not, it cannot store the data into the cloud database or anything.
This data, no?
This data.
How you can store the data? So you don't have option to insert statement, right? Insert you cannot write, right?
Okay.
The client has given the payload data like this. So we will not write the insert statement or something, right?
No.
That is the reason we will pass the payload to REST endpoint. REST API will pick up this JSON, this payload will be pick up and it will store into staging table. So this staging tables where we will create. So we have a concept called, I think in SQL, he might have explained in SQL. In SQL, he might have explained. In SQL, I think we were used ATP database, right? So I think he has given valid something valid zip file and username and password something. I think you might have got that also. I think I'm correct or not?
Yes.
So in real time also, for example, client will send the data in this format, or maybe in the SOAP web service format, XML format. Okay, so in this case, how you are going to load this data to these tables? So once we store the data into these tables, they may use this data for reporting purpose. They may use this data for some custom application development. So it's a different scenarios will come, guys. But integration developer responsibility is whenever client have a payload data, this payload I would like to store into some staging table in the ATP database. So that is the requirement.
So in case if we have to move this data from staging tables to Oracle base tables,
then in this case, what we will do? We will use the REST APIs. Standard REST APIs are there.
okay.
Standard REST APIs. I think after you see this example, you will understand how we can pass this payload to REST API. The REST API will pick up this data and store it to standard tables. Also, you can store. If I show this example, you can understand standard REST API also will pick up this data and store into standard Oracle tables. Standard Oracle tables also. Okay, let's say standard Oracle REST API also. We can pass the payload and we'll load into standard Oracle tables. So now we are using custom, right? This is a custom REST API we are doing. If you know this custom how to do, standard also same steps. Okay. Yes. So any questions you can ask me, guys. So we have standard Oracle REST APIs are there. So that REST APIs, but we need to pass the payload like this for that REST API. That payload will be pick up the standard REST API post operation and it will load the data into standard Oracle tables. Understand or not? Okay. First of all, there's any question, any confusion, you can feel free to ask me as a requirement. This is very, very important. So even though I'm taking employee department table, so but many times we are going to use this kind of integrations where client will send the payload. So we need to create the REST API. That REST API will pick up this payload data and store into tables. First step is we will create two tables in ATP database. We'll create the two tables in ATP database. We'll create the two tables in ATP database. So what are the two tables? These tables. You know right how to create the tables in ATP. So go to ATP database. So now what? So actually these tables we already used. These tables we already used. Can I run or you want to change? I want to change. Okay. Okay, it's not there. That's fine. So what I mean, yeah, it's actually able to. This one. Table created. Memory key. And this one. Okay. So two tables we have. Now tell me guys here. Tell me guys here. We have created the two tables in ATP database. This is the first step. Second step is what guys? Tell me. How many connections required? So we are developing the REST integration, right? So we are developing the REST integration, right? So now end user will pass the payload as a trigger point. Now tell me. How many connections required? Easy question, yeah. I'm asking easy question.
One connection.
What is the one connection? So tell me. So we are creating the REST endpoint, right? We are creating the REST endpoint as a custom REST endpoint we are creating. Create the two connections. Create the two connections. A. Create the two connections. One is REST endpoint, REST adapter. Tell me guys, in this example, REST adapter, we need to take as a trigger and invoke or only trigger is enough?
Trigger and invoke.
Trigger and invoke, huh? Think on that, guys. Sharda, can you try?
Trigger, just a trigger, Vamshi.
Yeah, just to trigger. So you observe, guys, here that see that is the reason important thing is when you get the requirement, first you have to design. So if you like if you attend any interviews, they will ask how you design your integration. So they are asking every interview, they are asking this question. So which one is trigger, which one is invoke? So now what we are doing, this REST adapter only will pick up the data, right, at the starting point. So what after you pick up the data here, why invoke is required? Invoke not there na here. What invoke will do here? ATP database. So whatever the data you are getting from the REST adapter, the payload, then what we need to do? We need to store this data into tables, right? So first point will be trigger. Second point will be what? Second action will be what? No. ATP. ATP database connection. Create the two connections. REST adapter will be take this payload and ATP database will be insert the ATP database will be insert into tables. So this is the two connections we need to create. Understand or not?
Invoke is used for reading the data and storing the data, no?
Invoke simple, guys. First action from the integration, that is called trigger.
Right.
Further actions, anything, it is invoke only. Further in integration, second node, third node, fourth node, anything is invoke only. So invoke will read the data and invoke will send the data to tables. That you can see whatever you understand, that is fine. But the point is, what do you mean by trigger and what do you mean by invoke is, trigger means starting point of your integration. Invoke means in the next actions, whatever there in the integration, that is called invoke.
Okay. Means starting point will be indicated as trigger, or it may be as scheduler also.
It may be schedule also, correct? It may be schedule also.
Based on our requirement.
But this requirement, client will pass the payload whenever they want.
Okay,
Client will pass.
There may be pass at any time.
Anytime they will pass. So they will pass afternoon, evening, morning, whenever they have data ready. Okay.
Okay.
So now I am taking the REST adapter as the trigger. Okay. And ATP database I am taking as the invoke. So these two connections we need to create. First step. The second step. Third step. Tell me, guys, what styles of integration we need to take. What style of integration we need to take?
Application.
Application integration, correct. Create integration style as create the integration style application.
Why not it is event based, Vamshi? Why application?
Event means whenever you create the data, integration will fire.
Okay. So here also, whenever we receive the data, then we have to fire the integration, right? Whenever the other
How the system know when you receive? System will not understand, right? When you receive. Whenever you create the data, integration will execute. You know trigger in PL SQL?
Yeah.
When insert trigger will execute.
Whenever there is an insert happening on the table, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So same way, event also same. But here this payload received, but how the integration knows? So event means whenever you have created any data, whenever you have updated any data in the system, then this event will execute. Event means integration will execute. That is called event-based integrations. So this we are running manually whenever we want. Event-based integration, schedule integration automatically will execute. We don't. Okay, when you write the trigger, do you execute the trigger manually or it will execute automatically? Tell me.
Automatically.
But here the requirement is client will send the payload. Whenever the payload is ready, then only we will execute integration. Manual intention is the execution of the integration.
Okay.
So that is called application integration. But event and schedule means automatically the integrations will execute. So in the future, I will cover the event also. That time you will get the more clarity. For now, whenever the data ready, then we will execute the integration. Where the integration style application.
Projects mode.
Projects. So what I will do, create the first connection is REST endpoint. Data. REST. Any name I can do. Will be a trigger. Will be a trigger. We can create. Now, you can use the basic authentication. Okay. So this is the first connection we have created. So this is the first connection. First connection I have taken. Second connection is ATP connection. ATP connection. First I'm saving this one because create the integration together. So you can use the trigger on invoke. Only you can use invoke also, that's fine. You can use that, that's not a problem. Use the trigger on invoke. You can create.
If we mention the role here, if we don't use the invoke also, nothing will happen.
Yeah, I mentioned both.
Yes, both you have mentioned, but we are not using the invoke, no, in this.
No, we are using invoke in this integration, this one.
Okay.
In this integration, I'm using invoke.
Okay.
You can put the invoke also, that will work. Nice.
Okay.
So if we are using invoke, we can take trigger and invoke as well. It will be fine.
No. See, if I use the invoke, only I can use second point of the integration. You cannot allow a starting point of the integration. Okay, then to avoid the confusion, I'll put only invoke. It's not editing. Not possible. It is not there. Shall not there. So you can put only invoke, that's not a problem, guys. If you use the invoke, only second action from the integration you can use. Trigger means any place you can use. Trigger starting point you can use, invoke second place also you can use. Got it, no? Not any confusion still. Guys, not that much complex. Trigger means starting point. Invoke means any actions you can use. Anywhere you can use except starting.
After starting point.
After starting point. Trigger means always starting point. Invoke means trigger means always starting point. Invoke means after start any place. If we use role as trigger and invoke, if we use the role as trigger and invoke, any place we can use. Okay. Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Still any clarity required? Hello.
Clear.
Okay, create the integration style as application. I think we need to do this valid. ATP gen2 underscore I. ATP gen2. Valid you can upload the valid. You know, right? This one, how to create the connections.
Yes, Vamshi.
Valid password. Valid password. 1 minute, guys. Checking my mobile.
So this is the OIC cloud database or different database, Vamshi?
This is PAS database, I can say PAS database.
Okay. Every time you will get that the authentication to your mobile?
Huh?
Every time you will get an authentication to your mobile?
No. Password I am checking in the mobile.
Okay.
So this password I am checking in the mobile. Okay.
Yeah.
There is no authentication here. So you just after you create the ATP connection, so you mention service name. This service name should be like this. When you upload this valid file in the SQL server, so this is the service name. You copy this name, paste here, and here you upload the valid file and valid password and username and password. You need to mention. I think all details you have. If anyone will not have, I think when SQL classes are running, I think he is going to give you this one.
Please share these credentials, TNS entries, Vamshi.
There is no TNS entries, Narendra.
Okay.
I think if you have valid information, you can do this one.
I think that wallet is different from this wallet, Vamshi.
Yeah, whatever I am using this wallet is different.
Yeah.
Service name also it is important to mention. Okay.
Which one?
Service name.
Service name, yeah. So whatever Nawaz is giving the wallet and I am using the wallet is different. But that's fine. Database is same. So our ultimate goal is what? To store the data into table, right?
From the connection, we'll be getting the service name, right? In the Oracle SQL.
Yes, you can see this one. Yeah.
From properties, we can.
I will tell you, go to the properties. Here you can check.
Okay.
Or you unzip this wallet file. There you have a TNS entry will be there. So there also you can see service name. Okay. So whatever the wallet you are using, that also fine, guys. If you want, I will share this one in the group. Okay, that's fine. Anything you
Please
can
share, Vamshi.
Yeah, I'm sharing immediately now.
Yeah.
Room 24 I am.
Vamshi, do we have any steps documented in the Google Drive, like which says how to use this wallet in connecting to the SQL developer?
It's simple. I think in SQL, yeah, he might have shown.
Okay.
In SQL developer, very simple. I think in SQL classes, he might have shown. What about Arshit? He has shown or not?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay. I'll show you, Chaitanya, don't worry.
Okay.
Go to the plus here. ATP, EB1, username. Maybe you might have not attended SQL class, that is the reason you're asking, right? So here connection type you can use road valid you can use rows. Same now. This test means it will come success.
Got it, Vamshi. Thank you.
Save means it will save. Already I have saved. That is the reason I am not saving. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Save means it will be give the list here. Okay, I am not saving because I already created. Same whatever I am using here, same thing you can do in the OIC also. Only thing is this manually we need to give, but there it will come automatically when you upload the wallet. Some kind of okay. Okay. Now. So we have created the REST connection and we have created the ATP database connection. So now what I will do, click on create the integration. What is the style we need to take? Application integration you can take. Create the integration, style the application, okay? So what I will do here, DB insert. Any name you can give. Roy PT database insert. Okay. Employee DB database insert. Okay. You can give any name. Click on. Now you tell me, guys, what is the starting point of the integration in this example?
Trigger.
Trigger. Click on plus. Click on trigger. So what you will do here? Read the payload. Okay. Read mp DEPT. Record. Read employee department payload. Continue. Okay, right. So, what does this operation do? It will insert data into tables. Anything, any name you can do. What is the REST endpoint URL name? The REST endpoint URL name you can give any name. Same name you can do. It's not a problem. Now you tell me, guys. So it's a get or like what method I need to use?
Post ID.
Post.
So I'm using the post. Now you tell me, do we need to pass any parameters for this?
No.
No.
Not required. So we need to configure a request payload for this endpoint.
Yes.
Correct. We need to get the response or not.
Yes.
So there are two things are there, guys. So if you want to get the response, you can define the response. If you don't want to get the response, you can uncheck this one.
Response means whether the insertion is successful or not.
Exactly, correct. So, okay, we will do like this. First, without this we will do. With this also we will do. With this also we will do in the next example. So you understand, you remember this point, guys. In the next example, whatever I am going to show in the next example, that time I will use this one. This time I am not using. What is the difference? You will understand. So when I am not using this one, you will not get the return activity. You know, return activity, some arrow mark will come, right? Did you observe or not? So in the last
Yes, also.
some return activity will come, right?
Yeah.
I cannot write the diagram, but return activity will come. If I am not using this one, what it will come? It will come stop activity. So I think I have shown in the starting of the example. You remember or not? But I have shown. Now I am not selecting this one. Return activity will not come. Continue. I will show you guys. Don't worry. Both ways I will show you. Okay. So now what I will do? Post option. I will use the JSON. So I already told you, right? Every insertion, every insertion. If you want to get the payload, if you want to get the data, we need to get the structure or not. Structure we need to create or not.
Yes.
We need to create the structure. So what type of structure you are expecting? JSON. Now what you will do, whatever the sample payload which client has given, that you need to paste. So this whatever the payload which we are copying from here, this is only to maintain the structure. How many columns are there in the department? How many columns are there in the employees? You can pass any dummy data here, but these column names we need to use properly. Means, so accordingly, according to this payload, I have created the table structure. That means this payload structure and this table structure should be same. But this is the table, right? But how the OIC know what is the table structure and how you need to pass the data to these tables. Like for example, if you give these tables, then only I can insert the data, right? So even OIC also can understand if I pass this sample payload here, then only OIC will understand how many columns are there, how many how many columns are there, like that. So that is the reason sample payload we need to pass here. That we already discussed. I am taking the same. You can give any dummy data, guys. So that's not a problem. These labels also you can give any name. Continue. Continue.
Vamshi, where we are specifying the exact table name, Vamshi, here?
Table name we will specify in the invoke, right? Here we
Okay.
are creating the structure now.
Okay.
Invoke activity we are going to specify the table names. That I think ATP we will specify.
So structure should have all the columns of the table, like at least the number of columns that we are going to get in the payload.
Yes, correct. Structure should have how many columns are there you are sending the data to table. That information we need to tell for the trigger.
Okay, so we cannot runtime. We cannot change the number of columns. Otherwise, will it give any error if the number of columns are not matched?
Error definitely will come. For example, Chaitanya. So what we will do? For example, when you are inserting the data to table, you have a 3 columns are there here. You cannot insert the 4 columns, right?
Yeah.
What error will come?
Number of columns are not.
Number of column not matched. Something error will come, right? Same here also. Same. We are inserting the data to these tables. OIC what is expecting? Okay, what columns you have? That columns we need to specify. So that structure will be created here.
Okay.
So that is
when we make the requirement itself, we should know like client exactly how many columns they are passing. It's not
exactly,
like
yeah.
2 columns they'll give us, and later on they'll say we have 5 columns to insert.
In this case, for example, in the future, 2 or 3 columns extra will be added. Then in the payload also you can change the structure here. In the payload, for example, in the future, this is the stop activity came, right? For example, in the future, the payload structure has changed. Maybe in the department number, department name, location, and country also they want to add here. Then what you will do? You do like this. Something you do. And in the column also you can add here in the table level. So like that, this structure should be equivalent to this table structure, guys. Then only we can insert the data properly. So in interview also they will ask. For example, in the future, when you want to add any new columns in the mapping, you do mapping, right? These columns and these database columns. So you cannot say mapping, you can create the new mapping, right? If you add in the payload, then only the structure will come. In the interview, they will ask this question. Definitely they are asking. Once again, I will tell you guys. See, for example, in the future, you want to add one more column. What you will do? Currently, how many columns are there? 3 columns are there. These 3 columns I can map in the mapper. But if you add one more column, here also you need to define. Then only mapping will come. You cannot create the mapping directly here without adding the without adding here mapping. You cannot do here. Got it or not? Confusion?
So in payload, we have to change in the mapping and also in the table.
If you change the payload, mapper automatically will come here.
Yes.
So normally what people will tell, if you add one more mapping, the columns and these columns we can map. That is not correct answer. You need to create the structure in the payload. Then only mapping we can do. Otherwise, you cannot do mapping. Remember this point. Okay. Continue. Finish. Okay. So trigger we have created. See the changes. So at this moment, any questions you can ask me. It's very, very important. I'm explaining. So even though this is the basic things I'm explaining, but at the starting of integration classes, so they generally you should aware. Now this is the starting point, right? What is the next here? Tell me.
Invoke.
Invoke.
Mapping, right?
Invoke what you no mapping will come later. So you see one more thing is before I come to this invoke activity. If you look at this one, this is the stop activity. Here it is not giving the response. Here it is not giving the response. If you want to get the response, what you will do? I told you, right?
Check mark.
Third checkbox should
Third
be.
checkbox should be checked. Understand or not? Do you want to show? Next example I will cover, guys. Don't worry. There are 2 or 3 examples I am going to cover in the database insert. So this example I am going with the unchecked. Now, what is the next one, guys? Invoke. What do you want to do this payload data? What do you want to do this structure? You want to store the data to table, right?
Yes.
Where the tables are there?
In
Data-
ATP.
Database.
ATP database.
Very good. In the ATP connection, insert EMP DPT data. Something you can do. That's not a problem. Anything you can do. So if you want to call the PL/SQL procedure, you can use this option. If I want to call procedure, you can use. If I want to perform an operation, for example, I want to perform insert, update, delete, insert, update, and select. If I want to write only select statement, you can use the run as SQL statement. If I want
So
to
only DML operations are allowed in this ATP database?
no, select also you can use. Select
No,
also
like DDL, like this
DDL
creation.
not possible. DDL not possible. DDL, if you want to do, what you will do, you can create one PL/SQL procedure. In the procedure, you can write the execute immediate. So there is an option called execute immediate. By using execute immediate, you can write the DDL commands.
Okay.
That PL/SQL you need to call here. So now we will go for simple example. Perform an operation in a table. Now you tell me what option I need to select. First or second or
Insert.
insert. What is the difference between the insert or update? This one. If the data already present in the table, we'll take as update. If the data not present, then it will take as insert. So now we are doing the blind insert. Take the insert. Select also I will cover this. Don't worry. You can continue. So listen carefully. This is the very, very important, guys. So what type of tables you want to access? In the payload, how many structures are there? Department structure and employee structure is there. Now department structure, we have created the department. We have created the department table. Employee structure, employee table we have created. Okay. So what we will do here? Take the schema name. What the table name? XX_AEPT is the parent table. Search. Select this one. Select this one. Import. Next 5 minutes I will take as XX_AEPT import. Understand this step or not, guys? Import. Now, guys, here one table added, but you want to add one more table, right? You are inserting the data to multiple tables or single table?
Multiple.
Multiple.
So click on add. One more table you can add. Click on add here. One more table you can add. Table name. XX_. Table search. Click on continue. Okay, so 2 tables added. But I would like to give the link between link between two tables. How to give the link between two tables? There is an option called review manage relationships. Click on this edit. Click on edit. So now create the new relationship. Click on create new. So parent table is the department, child table is the employee. How you want to display the data? So one parent, multiple childs. One parent, one child. Here we have multiple options are there. So we will use this option. Why? Because one parent, multiple childs are there. Use this
What is
option.
the second option, Vamshi?
This is one record, one parent and one child.
First option is also same.
I am not sure how it will work now. But first option for sure, one parent and one child. Second option, I am not sure how it will work. So, but we are doing as per our structure, one parent and one multiple childs. Okay, now. So now what we will do, we are going to give the join department number, the join. In the department table, department number, employee table, department number, we are joining.
Ashit, here in the once a little scroll down here, the difference is we have the M is there, right?
M means multiple.
M is multiple.
M means multiple. One multiple. Here one only, but in the second one and first one look like same. But there must be some region will be there. But I have not tried this one. For sure, first one and one and many, multiple or many, one too many.
What is this last thing that you have done, Vamshi, here? XX department.
It is a common columns between employee table and child table. Common column between the employee table and child table. Continue. Like this. I will show you once again if you want. Go to the relationship, click on edit. See here. You double click here. I think I have already done that. You click on create new. Here parent table you can give. Child table you can give. Here you can give this one. Here you can give last. You can give parent table department number, child table department number.
Here, 1-1 is enough, I think so, Vamshi. 1-to-1 relation.
1-to-1?
Relation, it will work, I think so. It's not one-to-many. Because only one common column is there, right? Department number and department number.
Yeah, department number, common, yes, correct.
I think you
So
already took it, right?
already given, that is the reason it is not coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. You check the video. If you want, I'll remove and I'll show Archit.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So department is the parent, employee is the child. You can finish. Now you are asking question, right? Why we have to create this? Everyone have a doubt that why we are creating the payload structure, right? Now you will understand. See, in the mapper, here we have a payload, right? Here we have payload and here we have columns. Why we have created the structure here? Now you will understand that point. So whatever the data client will send here. So this data will be sent by client. And these are all the columns. Now you tell me, if I am not creating the structure, how we are going to map this data to these tables? So this is XX DEP is the table, XX employee is the table. Sharda, you asked me, right? So where you have mentioned the table names? Here
Yes.
I have mentioned the table name. Here this is the payload. So why we are creating the structure? Chaitanya, now I think I hope you got it now.
Yeah.
For example, in the future, I want to add one more column added, but here the column will not find right here.
Unless we add it to the structure, we cannot see
Exactly.
that.
That is the reason every time we need to create the structure. If you are not creating the structure, the mapping will not be generated here. If you have a mapper, then only I can map, right? This salary data should be mapped to this column. Understand or not? Even every batch this question they are asking, but Just for clarification, I'm telling now. So why we are getting the structure for every time? So if you create the structure, then only the mapping will be created in the source to destination. The remaining things I will cover tomorrow, guys. Thank you. Tell me, guys, how do you feel this OIC easy or difficult?
As of now, it is okay, Vamshi. We don't know next.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Take care.